Our first session on the main stage, sponsored by Invest Puerto Rico, please welcome Brian Burgery, Corporate Administrator at Invest Puerto Rico, so he can discuss how to navigate Puerto Rico's innovation landscape with Panoramica. Welcome.
All right. Hey, everyone. Buen dia. I'm excited. So for those of you who were in here earlier, Ella just gave a little brief intro to Panoramica. It's something we've been working on for a while. And it's an initiative that many groups across the island have been working on for years. And that's to truly map what we have here in Puerto Rico in our ecosystem. I brought a company down here 5.5 years ago or so, and fell in love with the ecosystem. That's actually the main reason why I ended up moving to the island. And there's just something about it. There's something unique that I've found here in our ecosystem that's different than any other place I've been. I was in Utah before this, Minnesota, California, Uruguay, different places. And there's just something unique here. And putting your finger on it can be difficult. Something that I love is also being able to share what the ecosystem has to offer. So it's very common, not just off the island, but even on the island, to maybe not really know what else is going on just a couple miles away or on the other side of the mountains or anything like that. So Panoramica is what we've come to after years of trying to find the best way to show what the island has to offer to the world and to ourselves here on the island. So I'll be getting into that in just a minute. So I work a lot with investors every day, new companies trying to come to the island and expand, local companies and startups looking to find out how they can be successful, how can they break into the global market. So I get a pretty good view of what's going on. And one of the things that's a consistent question that people have, whether it's an investor or a company, is what does Island have to offer? Is there investment happening? Are there actually startups? Is there support for my company if I move it down there? Investors want to know, are there other things going on that will help their portfolio companies they invest in? Is there opportunities? Can Puerto Rico companies make money? All sorts of questions. And a lot of these are going to be able to be answered through the Panoramica platform. So one of the things I want to make sure everyone knows, this is a platform for everyone, for the community. We're helping sponsor and push things along from behind, but we really want every person to be utilizing the platform and contributing in their own way. And I'll show you exactly how to do that in this little walkthrough that we're going to do. So to do this and to maximize our exposure to the global world, from a technological standpoint, it made sense to partner with groups that do that. So we decided to partner with a group called Deal Room for the for the technology backend of this platform. So Deal Room has a global database of startups, investment groups all over the entire world, and then partners with groups, organizations, companies, governments to dive deep into different ecosystems. So when we connected with Deal Room, we figured Puerto Rico would be an amazing opportunity to dive deep, work with them on their technology side, and with the knowledge and experience and connections we have in the island to really put Puerto Rico on the map, literally in many cases, when it comes to investment, startups, and innovation in general. So from a high level, we're going to start high of why we're doing this. We've already gone over that a little bit, and then drill down to the granular details. Feel free to take out your laptop or your phone and work along with as I do this. I won't be offended. The whole goal of this is that we're all actually on the platform and utilizing it. So feel free to do that as I'm showing you how things work. And I'm going to try to make a little bit of time at the end for maybe a couple questions after I've gone through everything. So what other groups look for when they're looking at the island, like I said, I already mentioned investors, I mentioned companies, governments, United Nations, other groups, even our on-island governments are trying to find good data on our ecosystem to help promote economic development. This platform is going to be be able to be utilized for all of that. So how the data is collected, and I'm starting high. This will all make really good sense once we dive right into the platform. But we're getting data from a lot of different places. As Ella mentioned, the baseline is we're using artificial intelligence that's being able to scan El Nuevo Dia, News is My Business, national, global, and local databases and channels to find information on companies. So if there's an example would be, and I see Ernesto, a CDVCA here, there's a press release when they invested into Scutel that came out, I think in News is My Business or one of the local publications, and within minutes or within an hour, it was already transcribed in the database that an investment had happened, who the company was, who the investors were, to start mapping that. So that's one of the most scalable ways, utilizing technology, that we're able to gather data. The other is groups like ours, Invest Puerto Rico, as well as the Trust and Comena and all the different HR Parlante, Unlock Capital, all the accelerators, incubators, investment groups. We're working together to also bring this data into a place that we can all utilize it and garner the insights we need to be successful both individually and as an island collectively. So that might be uploading spreadsheets full of information and data to help fill this database. But one of the most important pieces, and what I'm going to go through with all of you and show you kind of how to do that, is everyone in Puerto Rico can create a free account, which we'll get into, and claim your company or create your company profile and make sure that information is correct. Make sure that the information you want to make sure that investors or other companies and people see is there. And then you can also have access to that as well. So, as was mentioned, this is part of a global network, and we are the first one in the Caribbean. Besides Mexico, we're the first one in the Latin America Spanish-speaking countries as well, and there's only a handful in the States. This is kind of just showing kind of where we fit into the broader picture, and we are an integral part in the global economy, and we'll start to see more and more of that as time goes on. I'm just going to breeze through some of this. This is just showing high-level data from the broader deal room ecosystem. So there's hundreds of thousands of people that are visiting the broader deal room ecosystem, which will now show Puerto Rico data, companies, investment to the world. And most of these are, you can kind of see a breakdown of who's looking. There's a lot of European groups looking, obviously North America and Asia. So you can kind of see a breakdown of the bigger, broader network that we're being brought into and helping to supercharge, quite frankly. So Panoramica. We chose a name. I mean, it's a panoramic view of what we have going on the island, but I also love it because we can dive in deep at the same time. So there's key insights. One, you're going to be able to look and see trends, and I'll show you some examples of this in a second. You can see high level, well, how much money was invested in Puerto Rico over X period of time? How much of it was invested by venture capital firms versus private equity versus something else? And then you can drill down to specific details of a company. How many employees do they have, or a range? And based on the data that's available, you can drill very granularly. So you can kind of see here the list of the users that this is useful for. So when I say this is a platform for everyone, I really mean it. Just as a show of hands, how many of you are a founder or run a startup? Okay, we got a handful. How many of you would consider yourself an investor or work with an investment group? Okay, we got some of you as well. How many of you are looking for a job? Okay. How many of you work with or have gone through an accelerator or an incubator? How many, well, we might even have some policymakers in here as well. Journalists, researchers, I won't make everyone raise their hand, and universities. So there's some very specific spots we're going to hit on with each of these to really show how this is useful to each and every one of these groups. I'm going to cater a lot of what I go to from the startup founder and investor standpoint, but it's going to be applicable to everybody. Going deeper in what I was talking about before, you can get a comprehensive overview of everything from funding rounds that are happening to the jobs to how ready they may be to raise capital. and I'll show you exactly what that looks like with some of our local companies in just a second. So for startups and founders, one of the things I definitely want to make sure you guys come away with is for any startup or founder who's raised less than 10 million, you can actually get free access to the whole global platform. Everyone has free access for Puerto Rico, thanks to Invest Puerto Rico and the trust. That's covered, so anyone in Puerto Rico can have access to that. And then for founders who are under 10 million, can actually have 3 months free into the whole global deal room network and be able to utilize that data and search and hopefully maybe find some more investors as well. Now, there's going to be some places that you guys can go. We have links that everyone can go to right when you go to the platform itself. And I guess I should have started out with that. Panoramicapr.com is the URL. It'll show up on the screen in a second, so feel free to go there. You can claim your profile. So many times your company is already going to be on the platform if there's ever been any news about it, or if you've gone through an accelerator before or something like that. Otherwise, you can create it and add to your company. You can also set up areas where you can show off if you have a new product, if you're raising capital, and different things like that, which I'll get into in detail in a second. So feel free to scan this if you want to right now. I'll leave it for a few seconds, and then we're going to jump right into the live demo. So on here, this is going to give you a baseline overview of the island, and I want to clarify a few things. There's actually a lot more than 333 startups. Right now we have 607 in the database. 333 is how many we have verified. Those who have actively raised capital, that's verified, gone through accelerator programs, things like that. So there's actually a lot of work for all of us to do to help beef up the island ecosystem and our profile by claiming your account, making sure the data's accurate, that the website's accurate, all of that. And we'll be able to show off to the world even more what we have. But this is just giving a high-level overview. Now here you're also going to be able to see curated content, public services. There's these different tabs here. Definitely a good place to start. And I'm going to go through a couple of these. For those of you who are founders or have a company, anything like that, when you go to the For Founders section, it's going to have a whole walkthrough. You literally can click on this onboarding assistant, and a little chatbot will pop up and tell you everything to do. So I'm not even going to go through every little thing because they'll do a way better job. But it's going to guide you through just setting up. It's very simple. It just takes a couple minutes. But that's one of the resource pieces right there. Another area that's fun to keep track on is the curated content. So let's say you just want some high-level data, or you're not wanting to get in and create your own searches or reports or anything like that. In the curated content, we'll be adding more of these consistently. There's going to be some pre-saved searches and overviews that you can look at. So for example, let's say you want to check out what Parallel 18 companies have been up to and what that ecosystem looks like. You can go ahead and click, and we already have pre-saved and filtered, and you can see each generation or cohort that they had, which companies were in it, and it even gives some stats on like how much funding has been raised by those generations, so to speak. So those companies that went through that cohort, how much have they been raising over time? And this is updated in real time. So as companies progress, close a funding round, this data is going to update as well in real time. You can change different views. So one thing you'll find is this is a very powerful tool. You don't have to use it to go deep, but you definitely can. So for some of you and data nerds and things like that, you'll be in heaven. So, but for everyone else, you can also find what you want pretty simply as well. So going in from a standpoint, let's say we want to go look at a company. We want to learn more about it. You can come right over to the companies section, and it's going to be hierarchical. So you see companies just on a broad level up top. At the moment, there's 906. Obviously, that's not every company on the island. This isn't necessarily mapping all the pizza shops or McDonald's or anything like that. This is really mapping the innovation ecosystem, startups, tech companies, companies that could take on investment, that sort of thing. So that's what you'll find here. You can drill down to startups and scale-ups. If you want to just go to companies that are funded, you can do that. So for example, companies that started in 1990 or later and have received investment capital that we have documented at least, there's at least 110 companies currently in the database. I know there's more, and there's always more being added. But you can start to see, okay, well, who's actually raised money? Who's walked the walk, so to speak? And who's caught eyes of other investors. One of the ones that I'm going to show that they're a great example is Raincoat. So Raincoat's a great company started here on the island. They've raised capital both on and off island, and this is their profile. And honestly, I haven't even had them sign up yet, so there's just a lot of information that we were already able to gather. So you can start to see, okay, well, what type of business is it? Are they business to business, business to consumer, their insurance? They actually have sustainable development goals. There's different things like that that can be tracked on here. And then you can also get different analytics. So how many people work there? Are they a growing company? Are they a dying company? And you can follow them along in their journey as well. So here you can kind of see like a timeline of different things in their progression as a startup, as a company, whether it's getting an award, a grant, going through an accelerator program, in this case, getting investment from a lot of different off-island groups. I think they're the first ones to receive investment from SoftBank, which is a global fund in Puerto Rico. They're from Japan, but they hadn't invested in Puerto Rico until recently. So you can get a lot of information here. You can see who the founders are, and that's one of the important things for everyone to go and claim their profile, because in here, unknown gender, different things like that, they're not claimed, but it shows what information we have. In this case, it's indicating they're strong founders because they've founded other companies before, they've had an exit, something like that. So you can really dive in deep if you want to, and all of this is searchable, and I'll show you in just a second. The other things that are very interesting to look at, here we have these little tabs, everything from job openings to innovations, if they have any patents. So this is a lot of really good information that's useful across the board, especially for investors, companies looking to expand to the island, governments, economic development groups, that sort of thing. So showing another one, let's take someone who's raising money. I know that, let's see here, Cutting Edge Superconductors. They're in Mayaguez. They're currently raising capital. One thing that you can do, and this is what will link one of the other platforms that Ella mentioned that we launched, which is called Impeller, together. Let me find it real quick. Oh, that was actually a bad example to show you guys. Hello, also raising capital right now. And that's the other thing. The search is super nice. You can type anything in there. You can type names, companies, anything, and that's going to pop up. Well, actually, that's not showing right now, so I guess I won't show you that. Essentially, a card pops up right here, like right by where the people section would be. It shows that they're raising capital, and you can click on it, and it goes right to their offering. And I'll show you what that looks like in a second as well. So that's going through kind of what we have on the startup side. Then on the corporate side, I mean, we have a lot of other corporate companies. We have those who have moved down from other places. I mean, we've had Microsoft on the island for decades. We helped Amazon Web Services set up their Caribbean headquarters last year. MasterCard, Visa, all these other groups are also here, and that's good to show ourselves and the world that we have a really diverse economy, and there's a lot here. Going in a little bit deeper, everyone wants to know about investment. So we track investors as well, and this is going to be every type of investor. So right now we have 121 investment groups in the database on the island. That's a lot more than most people would think. Now this is going to range from, and you'll see companies like Amazon, things like that, because corporates, companies also invest. Funds aren't the only ones that invest. Individuals, angel investors are also investing. So this is showing any group that's either investing or in some cases, like let's say Unlock Capital, maybe they're not investing with their dollars, but they're investing through their accelerator programs and in other ways to these companies, and you can filter all of that. So there's some preset filters for you guys here. So let's say you only want to find venture capital. You can just click on that, and it's already going to be filtered for you, and you can find all the different venture capital groups that are based here on the island, and you can dive deeper into their interests, what type of investment they do, how big of a check that they write. All that information can be found. So Pantera Capital, for example, they're a very big group that started in Silicon Valley, and they've expanded here and set up offices and everything like that. So you can jump in, you can see who else have they invested in, what countries. They have 200 companies in their portfolio, so you can get a lot of data, again, on these different investors. You can see who founders are, you can see how many different funds they have, so there's a lot of data to go deep in here. Now, sticking with the investment theme, I'm going to jump back. This is also another exciting part. So this is an automated matching tool, and I'll show you how this can tie into Impeller as well. So let's say you want to raise money, and you have your profile filled out. I encourage everyone to fill out your profile. Let's take the superconductor, cutting edge superconductors, for example. Oh, typed that in the wrong spot. There we go. So you pick your company, how much you're raising. Let's say they're looking for $1 million. This is going to search a global database of investment groups, and it's going to recommend who you should maybe look at and reach out to based on what industry you're in, what stage your company is, what the check size is that they write and that you're looking for, and even if they've invested in Puerto Rico before, because that's a huge one many times, unfortunately, but it's getting better. Investors might not know much about Puerto Rico. If they don't know much and they're scared, then they won't invest. But if they've already invested in Puerto Rico before, that's a big hurdle we don't even have to worry about anymore because they've already done it. And you can dive in deep. So you see Grupo Guayacán, for example, is obviously here on the island. These other ones are not. So it's really going through a global database. And if you want to dive in more, let's say you only want investment funds and you only want ones that focus on seed stage investment, it will recommend others based on those parameters that you're putting in. So this allows you to be very proactive as you're looking for investment, and then you can reach out or do whatever your strategy is on the capital raising side of things. So that's a really powerful tool from the founding side. I won't go through every single tab on here in depth, but what I do want to show is that it is pretty extensive. So if you want to jump into the different accelerators and incubators on the island, and there's more than we even have in the database right now. We're still uploading things and making sure that data is accurate and whatnot. But even 17 is more than Las Vegas has. Las Vegas, I think, has 8. So we actually compete very interestingly and very well in many different areas that we never even knew because we didn't have the data. So now that we are starting to have the data, and as all of us start using the platform more and more, we'll truly see how we compare on a global level. Same like anything else that I've showed you on here, you can jump into a profile, going deeper. In this case, you can see unlock capital and who's gone through their program. You can see what industry those companies are in. You can start to see, okay, there's a lot of health companies, but there's no maybe food companies, or you can start to get different data points and trends. And a good way to show that, actually, I'm going to go back to companies. There's different views. We've been looking at the table view, which is fine. I really like the landscape view because it gives a whole different dimension to what we have going on the island. So in one click, you can then see, okay, well, here's all the fintech startups and innovators. Here's fashion, kids, transportation, health, you name it. This can be useful in a lot of different ways. Like I was just saying, maybe you have an idea, you want to start a company, but you don't want to be one of a million. You can look and see, like, what are the needs of the island? What are we lacking? And maybe find some gaps there that you can fill and create a company from it. Who knows? So you can start diving deeper into different industries. You can break it down by sub-industries. You can get really granular. So granular that, let's say we just want to do fintechs that work in crypto and DeFi, for example. There's probably, okay, so there's none in that case that have that put as their baseline. Let's go with banking. Let's see what pops up there. Okay, so then we have 6. So again, in real time, you can do this, and this is updated in real time. So as people are creating their accounts, maybe someone just heard me say there's nothing showing off for crypto and DeFi, which I know there are on the island. They'll create it in a few seconds. It's right in front of you. So here, for example, you'll see the ones that are in fintech and banking, and you can start to see, again, what does the island have? So going down to another section, universities, I just want to hit on that. Unfortunately, most of the universities on the island aren't very good at tracking data or their alumni or what's going on. So as founders, investors, all of us, create our accounts and claim them on the platform, put where we went to college, that sort of thing, we'll actually finally be able to see which colleges on the island, which universities are pumping out the most founders and the most startup companies and that sort of thing. And that's just a sliver of the data that we can start tracking as things go on. So I'm excited about that just to see. And then you can rep your university and show off your pride in another way. Jumping in, again, I'm not going to go through everything with the governments and nonprofits. It's the same structure that you'll see. There's service providers, again, that help and focus on the innovation ecosystem, and you can start filtering through that way. If you're looking for consulting or your legal services, a lot of those will already have, again, a button you can just click. You don't even have to do custom filtering. But for those who are maybe more of a data nerd, I'll show you what that looks like. So let's start again with the broad range of companies. You can go to the advanced filters, and you're going to have so many options, from the client focus to their business model to the startup industries, sub-industries. Again, like I was showing you, the technologies companies use, if there's certain tags you're looking for, just whatever. If you're searching for cannabis or whatever, you can just type in these spots and find companies that pertain. If you're looking based on job types or how many jobs they create, if you're just looking for location, if their headquarters is in Puerto Rico, if they just have an office in Puerto Rico, if they were founded in Puerto Rico but left Puerto Rico, you can get super granular. How old the company is, when did it start, you can filter all this stuff. And again, when you create your free account, this is available to you for Puerto Rico. And then those power users who want to do that on a national and a global scale can also then do that as well. If you want to find companies that have raised X amount of capital from certain types of investors, so you can get really deep in all of this. I know there's a couple people in here who are excited about that, and I'm excited too. And the more that we all use this, and the more insights we find, and the more we share what we find, the better. I mean, most of the world doesn't know, most people on the island don't know almost everything that I just shared with you, and I barely scratched the surface. I'm just talking for a few minutes on stage. As we find unique insights, share it on LinkedIn, post it on Twitter. Hey, did you know Puerto Rico has XYZ companies raising X amount of money? For example, I showed you the curated content section. As we build this out, there's going to be a lot more that you can quickly just click and show off. So let's say, personally, you're trying to find which companies are hiring, because maybe you want to look for a job. Let's look at the fastest hiring companies. Just going to give you a pre-filtered group of the companies that have been hiring the fastest from a percentage basis. I found some new companies. I had no idea were on the island, but they're hiring like dozens of people and they're based in Aguada, for example, like Urban. I had no idea they existed. I didn't know that they had raised $3.4 million last year, and they're based in Aguada, and that they're hiring dozens of people. Like, I had no idea until I started working on this. I'm like, oh, well, that's cool. So there's all these things that are going to pop up that you can start utilizing. While we're on the job topic, let's jump over to startup jobs. So specifically, this is going to baseline show jobs that are posted on the company's actual website. It's not necessarily going to scan every job on Indeed or Monster or every job on LinkedIn, but it will show the ones that are posted on companies' websites, and then you can filter it more. So if you want to just find jobs in fintech, for example, you can filter and look at that. So you'll see Island Finance, Impactivo Consulting, Dynamics Payments. So you can start to look for some jobs here. You can also just do all jobs in Puerto Rico. And this even is searching some areas in clasificados online, which I'm sure nowhere else in the world would be searching, but we are. So again, not everything, but when there's enough data that it can actually give you a decent recommendation, it'll provide those. So in this case, 638 job openings popped up. So from a business owner standpoint, this is also important, like put your jobs on your actual website and it'll automatically get crawled and added into the database if you want it to, and you can show off and just have another distribution point to find employees. So going a little bit further, and then I'm going to jump over and show you the Impeller investment platform because they can work hand in hand together. But first, workspaces. We have at least 15. Again, we're still adding as everyone makes their accounts. I'm sure we'll get more, but we have a lot of different workspaces. And this isn't just co-working, although that is the main representation right now of co-working spaces. But we have maker spaces. We have places like Engine 4 where you're doing 3D printing and a hacker house and different things like that. And there's other landing pads we're working with that are focusing on different types of technologies. There's also buildings like the Molecular Science and Research Center, the MSRC, which has a lot of lab space for those who are doing biomedical and need specialized equipment that costs tens of millions of dollars, but you can rent a space. So there's a lot of different workspaces. Yes, co-working, but even beyond that. And those are being added into here as well on a regular basis. So this is something that you can come to at any moment, every day, every hour. It's updating. So it's a great way to keep track of what's going on. So from the investment front, I'm going to jump over to Impeller. This is a platform we launched 2 years ago, almost exactly. And this is a platform that allows anyone who's on the island or moving to the island, basically anyone who's going to be creating jobs and or investing capital into the island can list. So this is Puerto Rico centric. And investors from anywhere in the world can come and look. And it's not just looking, you can actually go through the entire investment process in many cases on the platform. So you'll see some names you've probably seen before, maybe that you haven't. Funds can list on here. Any size company can list on here. And when you're on here, you're obviously getting more exposure to your deal. And this is a natural continuation from Panoramica. And as we build up more connections from it, you'll be able to quickly jump between each one. And what I mean by that, let's say you found Jetcar PR on Panoramica. There'll then be a link that you can click on that will go right here if you're interested on learning more from the investment front. And it's going to bring you right here. You'll be able to look through their pitch decks. You can go to their documents section and find the different documents they have. You'll see a lot of them will have a lock because they're restricted. So you like make an account or ask permission because many times they're sharing sensitive information. But all the information is there for someone, for an investor to decide if they're interested or not. And many times to even go right through the investment process. So when you log in and create an account as an investor, you'll actually have the option to put how much you want to do. You can electronically sign agreements and everything right on the platform. It's also a great platform when you want to test the waters. And literally there's a regulation for raising capital called testing the waters. And what that means is, let's say you want to raise capital, but you don't know all the exact details yet. Or maybe you know you need about $1 million, but you don't know what exemption or regulations you're going to raise under, and if you're going to do it straight debt or a convertible note, or maybe you have no idea what any of those things are and you need to figure it out, you can actually still legally share your company and that you're looking for capital just without putting specific investment details. So I think SmartWeave is doing that. So they're going to show, again, information about the company, hopefully get interest from investors, but instead of taking in the money right then and there, they'll have an indicate interest button. So here, I'll actually just sign in real quick. So in this case, instead of having a direct to invest button, they have an indicate interest to invest button. And that's where you can then put in a non-committal amount. But let's say if this works out, I'd be interested in maybe like $50,000. And you can indicate your interest. It'll have you verify who you are, obviously, and let them know. And then you can continue on learning more about the company. So in this case, they also have videos, a Q&A section, so there's a lot that you can go into there. This is, again, different platform for a different time. There's tons of videos. We have demo videos that go through everything on this in detail. That's just, you can find all of these at investpr.org. This is specifically Impeller. So just to wrap up, I'm going to jump back to the Panoramica platform. So another couple questions. Did any of you find any of what I just showed you useful or helpful? Okay, good, good. Just want to make sure on that one. But I really am excited. So if you have your laptop, if you have your phone, I'll go back to the QR code. Let's see here. Let me go to the QR code so you guys can scan it. Log in, start creating your account, claim your profile, tell everyone you know, every founder, everyone to, hey, jump on here, claim your profile, fill out, add your company if it's not there yet, join this database, hey, look for investors, find out what else is going on, explore the dozens of incubators and accelerators that we have. There's more than just a couple, and many of them are specialized. You might find one that's just focused on food, or just focused on renewable energy, or like Unlock Capital, just focus on helping you prepare to raise capital. There's a lot there for you, and I think within the next few months, between now and the end of the year, if all of us can be logging in, utilizing the platform, sharing for everyone else to do the same, that we're going to skyrocket in our overall numbers of what the island has, which is already more than most people think when you look at it now, but we'll have even more. And then when, for example, Invest Puerto Rico, in November, we'll be at Web Summit with over 75,000 people at one of the biggest tech conferences in the world, and we can pull this up and show anybody coming by from Europe or Asia or anything what Puerto Rico has, and oh, there's investment opportunities, or oh, you should come work with these companies who are doing R&D and innovating in the circular economy or renewable energy and things like that. And you can do it on your own. Like, you don't even have to be an organization like ours to be promoting and really showing off what the island has. So I truly mean it when I say this is a platform for everybody. I don't know if it's allowed or not, but does anyone have a question or two? We have 3 minutes, and then we got to get out of here. I see a hand. I don't know if there's an official way for that, but maybe talk loud and let's see what happens. Uh-huh. Financial database you were asking about? So it will show some degree of financial information. So where that's difficult is if it's a private company or a startup, like unless you voluntarily share that, we won't know. When you get to the bigger companies that are public, yeah, you'll be able to see how much money they're making and all those financials, because those are is public. So it's hit or miss, to be honest, based on what we can get. But again, the more people are utilizing it, and more people get comfortable and want to even show off, like, hey, I had a wonderful year this year. We broke even, or we were in the black and not losing money as a startup. Like, that's a great milestone. And if that's added in there, or if there's an article about it, we'll gather that. So it depends on how useful it'll be for very specific financial information, but it can also give you a good understanding are they doing well? Are they hiring? Did they raise money or did they get a loan? There's different things like that you'll be able to derive from the platform, which I think will at least give you the best angle the best direction that they're going. One more question? Yes.
There's a microphone.
Oh, and we have a microphone.
Yes.
And maybe 2 more questions. It depends how long this one is and how much I talk to answer it.
Good morning to everyone. I wanted to know about incubator opportunities.
Okay.
Thank you.
You want to know about incubators and what? Sorry.
I said opportunities.
Oh, opportunities? Okay.
Like nonprofit, because that's still good
Okay.
to do here too. So thanks.
Yeah. So one thing that you can do when you go to the accelerators section, it'll show accelerators and incubators. And you can start going through. Some of these I do know work with nonprofits and other groups too. Not everything is only focused on a company. So you'll be able to drill down. And again, as they fill out their profiles, you'll see more specifically on the screen exactly what they have. But it will always have a link to the websites of these groups. So you don't have to Google search and hope that you find something. This will give you, and that's a good baseline, I guess, to put. Everything on here at least has a legitimate website to go to. So even if you don't have their phone number and every piece of contact information right here, you have their website and they normally have a way to contact them there. So everything on here does go through a verification process. It won't publicly be showed if they don't have a baseline of information, because we don't want to show off things that aren't real. But that's a good question. You can go to this area and search through, and there are some for sure that I know that work with different types and even nonprofits. All right, time is up. Thank you, everyone. Jump on the platform. Happy to talk to you afterwards. We're going to be doing some more webinars starting next month in September on diving deep into specific use cases from an investor standpoint or a company standpoint. So if you're not already following Invest Puerto Rico on LinkedIn or other social channels, that's probably the best place to follow us and find out all the things that's going on. So thanks, everyone.